Welcome to the Hello Mornings podcast, where it's my goal to help you build the habit of a life-giving, life-changing morning routine. My name is Kat Lee, and today we're talking about knowing your why. This is part of our Morning Tips for Night Owl series. You can find it on the blog, and I go into an expanded edition here on the podcast just to dive into the concept a little bit more deeply and to help you flesh it out in your own life. So, what's the one question that kids ask all the time about everything? Whether you were a kid at some point in time, which we all were, or whether you have kids or you've known a kid, you have heard them ask this question. What is it? Why? Yes, you're right. They all ask why, because we have this deep need to know why we're doing the things that we're doing. Webster defines the word why as for what cause, reason, or purpose. Ultimately, we want to know that there's a purpose behind the things that we do. Whether someone else is telling us to do something and we need to know that there's a bigger purpose for doing it other than we're just like cheap labor, we need to know that there's a cause and a reason. We are cleaning the house today because we're having friends coming over. We're cleaning the house today because we're a part of a family. You know, all those different reasons that we can give kids to do things. Why do I need to put a jacket on? Well, because it's cold outside and it might rain. Why do I need to do this or that? We all ask that question. We don't maybe ask it verbally as much as we get older, but we ask it internally about things that we're asked to do. And a lot of times as we get older, the problem is that we allow that why to be determined by other people. So we have external whys that guide so much of what we do. Well, I should do this, or I used to do this, or so-and-so does this. But ultimately, those external whys are never going to sustain us with anything that's difficult or hard, like a morning routine. I love what Heather McFadden says. She says, should is an unsustainable why. A lot of us maybe have started out and maybe in different seasons have continued with a morning routine because we thought we should, because I should have a quiet time. I should read my Bible. So we always need to go back to that inner child in us and ask, well, why? Why should I? Has this become something that's just a checklist item? Has this become something that I feel like I need to do in order to earn God's favor and His grace, which I don't need to do because He gives it to us freely? We can fall into those ruts of doing things for external reasons instead of internal ones. You may have heard of stress. We've all experienced stress, right? But did you know that there are actually two different kinds of stress? There's stress as we know it, and then there's also eustress. It's spelled E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S, eustress. Now, this is fascinating because we can do the same action motivated by regular stress or motivated by eustress. And it all comes down to our internal or external why. So regular stress is running a mile because I'm being chased by a bear. Eustress is running a mile because I'm training for a marathon. It's that internal desire for something greater, a greater cause, reason, or purpose that makes us do something that is difficult for a bigger reason and a bigger purpose. Now, I don't know about you, but I would much rather go for a mile run because I'm training for a marathon than because I'm being chased by a bear. But this applies obviously not just to running, but to so many things in our lives. We can have a morning routine because we really understand how it can impact our lives, because we know that God loves us, because we want to meet with Him, because we want our lives and our days oriented around Him. Or we can have a morning routine because somebody told us that we have to, and we have to check it off a list every single day. Or we have to do it because we feel like we need it to earn God's grace. Stress versus eustress. And it's so important in things that we need to do in our lives to identify kind of the eustress reason why we're doing stuff. What's that internal why? So for your morning routine, if you want to wake up early tomorrow morning, why? What's your internal why? Not just because you should, not just because it's a good thing, but internally, why is it? So I thought I'd take a minute and just share some of my own reasons why, and I thought it might kind of inspire you and kind of prompt some ideas in your own head for why you want to have a morning routine. So the first reason for me is really, honestly, this is so not glorious. It just makes sense to me. Now, it doesn't mean that I do it perfectly all the time or that I wake up exactly what I want or do all the things that I want, but it makes sense to me to start my day with God. He made me, He created me, He knows me intimately. He knows the purpose that He's given to me in this life and in today and the people that I'm going to interact with and how I can best live my life and how I can best help them. So it just makes sense for me to start my day with Him. Kind of like an athlete going, like a quarterback in the Super Bowl. It makes sense for them to meet with their coach before they jump into the game. The coach knows the big picture. They know all the plays of the opposing team. They know all the things. And that quarterback can do the best job when he connects with the coach before the game and ultimately before each play. So the idea for me is that I want to start my day with Jesus because I want to walk with Him throughout the day. I want to take timeouts when things aren't going like I want them to go. I want to take a time out and say, okay, God, I am off track here. Can you help me get back on track? So my initial why, maybe it's not my top one, but a first one that I think of is that it just makes sense for me to start my day with God and to have a morning routine. My second reason for waking up in the morning is that I want to wake up for my life and not just to my life. You may have heard me say this before, but I want to live with purpose so that at the end of my life, I can kind of have a why for how I lived each day rather than just have regrets because I just lived reactively and reacted to things all through my life. I want to be able to get to the end and say, wow, I really lived with purpose and embraced every moment. That doesn't mean I need to work hard every moment or that I need to do things every moment. But whatever I do, I want it to be with intention and I want it to be submitted to God's heart for my life and for my day. That might be grabbing a cup of tea and reading a book. That might be working hard. That might be spending time with my husband or my kids. Whatever it is, I want to wake up for my life and live it with intention and not just wake up to my life and live it reactively. So my third one, the reason I want to start my day with Jesus is honestly just that He's worthy. And if I can keep that perspective that if for no other reason in the world, if it didn't make sense, if it didn't help me live purposefully, He is simply worthy of the first moments of my day. Because He is God and I am not. And it just reminds me that He is so much bigger than all the troubles and all the things that I have going on. And remembering that why even just helps me to take a deep breath, or actually to exhale really deeply, just to be like, God's got this. He is simply worthy. I don't need to check this off a list. I don't need this to be some big to-do where I, do these certain things. He is simply worthy of my time and my attention. So those are just 3 whys that I have in no particular order, and they don't need to be yours, but maybe they can prompt some thoughts for what your whys are. Why do you want to get up tomorrow and start your day with Jesus? No matter what time you get up, no matter what you do during your time with God, why do you want to do it? So how do we ultimately find our why? So here's just a few simple steps that you can take. I'd encourage you just to maybe go for a walk and pray and say, God, can you show me why I'm doing this? Maybe reveal to me some reasons that are external and that I need to let go of. And then show me some internal motivations that I have to connect with you and to meet with you first thing in the morning. So just take some time to pray and especially to listen. What is he speaking to your heart? What is he speaking through the word? You can also grab a journal and just write down the things that you're thinking. You could even do this for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and just write down some of your motivations every single day, whatever comes to mind. And then thirdly, take some time and review. Review what you were praying. Review what you felt like God spoke to you. Review what you wrote in your journal. And maybe break it all down into some sort of simple statement that you can review morning by morning. That when you wake up and you're like, oh, I just want to stay in bed. Instead, you can review that why that you've written down and refined day by day. I hope this has helped you. It is so important to know our why. Why are we getting up and spending time with Jesus? Take some time today, maybe this week, to pray, journal, and write it down so that you can go back to that day after day, month after month, year after year, and it will help you build a consistent habit of meeting with Jesus first thing in the morning. If you know your why and you want to share it, I would love it if you would head over to the blog and share it there or share it with us on social media. We are Hello Mornings on Instagram and Facebook. Come check us out, and you can get more resources for your mornings at hellomornings.org. Again, my name is Kat Lee, and I'm so glad you joined me today for this episode of the Hello Mornings podcast, where we discovered what our why is for our morning routine.
It's early in the morning, the house is quiet, but I've set aside this time for you. I bow before the throne of a noble king, and in this place my heart begins to sing. It's gonna be a God day filled with His grace and sweet new mercies. May my thoughts obey Jesus, to walk in His way by His Spirit with each breath that I take. It's feeling like a God day.
This song is called God Day by Jen Stanbro. You can get your copy at iTunes, Amazon, or jenstanbro.com.